Hey, what's up guys? Today, I'll show you a thriller crime film, Stray. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The movie starts with Nori, a young teenager who is deprived of a normal life. She's hidden by her mother and grandmother inside their house, for reasons she isn't aware of. One day, Nori's mother leaves the house without telling where she's going. She heads to an abandoned warehouse, where she meets someone. Stella, a detective who has just returned to work, gets a tattoo as a stress reliever. She's suffering from the tragic loss of her baby, which causes her marriage to fall apart. That same night, she receives a call that she has to respond to a crime. Immediately, Stella goes to the crime scene where she's welcomed by Jake, her ex-husband, who has been promoted as the head detective. Stella goes inside and finds the victim, who happens to be Nori's mother. She's completely charred, but there's no evidence of fire, which confuses everyone. Immediately, Stella goes to the victim's house, where she meets Nori and her grandmother. Stella asks them to identify the body, but they refuse to cooperate. It seems like they're hiding something from her. Later that day, Stella goes to the clinic, where the dead body of Nori's mother is being examined. According to the forensic expert, she isn't burned but petrified, and has been dead for more than 1,000 years, which adds mystery to her death. Nori is heartbroken by the sudden death of her mother. She'd like to see her, but her grandmother doesn't allow her. Luckily, she sees the calling card that Stella left, so she immediately goes to the police station to ask for her help. At first, Stella is hesitant to show Nori her mother's situation, but she's persistent, so Stella gives in. Nori is devastated upon seeing her mother. Suddenly, the machines in the clinic malfunctions, as Nori bursts into tears. Soon, a flower sprouts on the dead body of Nori's mother. It's then revealed that Nori has supernatural power. That's why her family kept her hidden for her safety. Later on, Stella brings Nori home. She informs the grandmother about the strange thing that happened to Nori. She begs her to just tell the truth behind her daughter's death, but she's still adamant. The grandmother then scolds Nori for showing her supernatural power to Stella. Stella returns home disappointed, then resorts to drinking alcohol. Afterward, she drives drunk to Jake's house, where she used to live when they're still together. Their marriage fell apart when their only daughter died. Stella left Jake because she thinks that his promotion as head detective is more important to him than mourning the loss of their daughter. Meanwhile, Nori screams to death as she wakes up surrounded by roots. She confronts her grandmother as to why they didn't teach her how to use her supernatural power. Her grandmother tells her that it's something she must discover for herself. Nori just wants a normal life. However, according to her grandmother, her supernatural power is a sacred gift that will bring back the world's beauty, so she needs to be responsible for it. Stella goes to the library to research cases that are similar to Nori's mother, but she still can't figure it out. At work, Jake tells Stella that he wouldn't recommend her to go back to work because he thinks that she isn't mentally prepared and still needs time to recover. He's still upset when Stella goes to their house, drunk. Stella apologizes and promises Jake that it'll never happen again. She adds that she needs to be busy in order to forget. Jake doesn't have any choice but to forgive her. He still has feelings for his wife, but Stella seems distant to him. Later that night, Stella goes to the restaurant where Nori's mother used to work. The boss thinks that Nori's mother reported him because he gives a low salary. So Stella clarifies that she's there because Nori's mother was found dead days ago, which surprises the boss. After a while, Stella goes to the parking area and notices a man on a motorcycle staring at her in the distance. She approaches him, but he doesn't respond, so she just ignores him and leaves. Meanwhile, Nori goes home and reminisces about her happy memories with her mother. Then, an old book on the shelf catches her attention. She opens it and finds her mother's picture. She then reads the words, which seem like magic spells. Suddenly, the atmosphere changes. Then the scattered lights form into her mother's reflection. One afternoon, Stella receives a call from Nori, who wants to meet her at the abandoned warehouse. When she arrives, she finds Nori using her supernatural power. She's amazed to see the scattered lights form a reflection of a woman and a man that Nori believes to be his mother and her killer. Later on, Stella and Nori go to the restaurant where the mother used to work. Nori explains to Stella how she's able to find out her supernatural power using the magic spell from the book. According to Nori, it's her first time doing magic tricks. However, she's already aware that her family has supernatural powers. When they return to Nori's apartment, she notices that their doorknob is almost charred. When they enter, the apartment is turning into ashes, but there's no sign of fire. Nori screams as she sees her grandmother, charred just like what happened to her mother. They wonder why the whole apartment almost turns into ashes, except Nori's room. Unfortunately, Nori is now an orphan. Since she has nowhere to stay, Stella agrees to let Nori stay in her apartment in the meantime. Unbeknownst to them, the man on motorcycle follows them. Stella tries to comfort Nori. She brings her to the tattoo shop where she gets another tattoo. Stella shares stories during the time that she was still living with her ex-husband. One time, while she was resting, she heard a dripping sound. She tried to find where it's coming from, but she failed. She then went to the hallway and noticed that the sound came from inside the wall. She knew that she couldn't do anything, so she just went back to bed. Days passed, and she could still hear the dripping sound, so she bought a music player and played her favorite jazz album in order to sleep. Eventually, the dripping sound just kind of went away. Stella adds that there are times that the noise is so loud, so we should just create our own to cover it up. That Nori shares that their radiator used to make a loud banging, so they got them fixed. It seems like Nori wants to imply that noise is like a problem. It shouldn't be covered up, it should be fixed, which definitely hits Stella. The next morning, they go to the cemetery to bury Nori's mother and grandmother together. When Nori closes her eyes, plants suddenly grow on the grave, which pleases her. When they are about to leave, they see the man on motorcycle, waiting for them in the parking area. As they approach him, he immediately leaves. Nori thinks that he's after her, because he left her torn photo in the car. Later that night, they go to the restaurant where the mother used to work. They find out the man on the motorcycle came and argued with the mother days ago. Stella is disappointed in the boss, because he forgot to mention it to her during his interrogation. Stella then checks the CCTV cameras and finds the man on the motorcycle arguing with her mother, but Nori doesn't recognize him. That same evening, while they're preparing to sleep, Nori notices that ashes are coming from the window. Stella gets the gun and the car key, then immediately leaves with Nori. A while later, the man on motorcycle arrives. Fortunately, Stella and Nori manage to escape and go to Jake's house. Jake comforts Stella, who's overwhelmed with the situation. Suddenly, they hear a noise upstairs, so they immediately check it. They're surprised to see Nori using her supernatural power inside their baby's room, who has already passed away. Stella tells Nori that their baby suffocated in her sleep when she rolled onto her stomach in the middle of the night while they're sleeping. Stella still blames herself for her baby's death. Before they sleep, Stella looks for a speaker to play music to cover the dripping sound. Fortunately, she doesn't need it anymore because Jake has already fixed the drip so she can sleep peacefully. The next morning, Jake informs Stella that he has the record of Nori's family when they immigrated. He finds out Nori has an older brother, and the only information that they have about him was when he was busted for assault. They go to Nori's room to ask her if she knows about her brother, but they're surprised that her room is turning into ashes, and Nori is nowhere to be found. Finally, Nori wakes up in an abandoned warehouse. She then sees the man on the motorcycle, who introduces himself as her brother. According to him, he killed their mother and grandmother because they're bad people. He also adds that their family is known for having beautiful powers. However, his power isn't as good as them. That's why they don't like him. The situation got worse when one day, a man followed them and grabbed his mother's arm. In order to protect her, he pulled the man's arm and turned it into ashes. After what happened, the family thought that the brother was cursed, so they abandoned him and moved to another country. The brother was brokenhearted when his family left him alone. That's why he honed his supernatural powers to take revenge on them. Nori runs into fear. She can't believe her brother's confessions. The brother tries to calm Nori and convinces her to come with him, so he can help her hone her supernatural powers. Nori goes back to Stella's apartment to get her things, while his brother waits for her outside. Luckily, Stella is at home. She electrifies the brother, causing him to lose consciousness. Later on, Stella brings Nori's brother to the police station to interrogate him. The brother hesitantly admits that he's behind the murder of his mother and grandmother. Stella asks how he killed them, but the brother refuses to answer, because he thinks that she wouldn't understand. Suddenly, the brother provokes Stella by reminding her of her dead daughter. Stella and Jake inform Nori that her brother will surely go to prison after he admits to the murder. Afterward, a sudden commotion occurs. They go downstairs and find out Nori's brother turned the prison into ashes and hurt the police in order to escape. Nori wants to help the police in negotiating with her brother. Stella thinks it's a good idea, but Jake disagrees because it's dangerous. Unbeknownst to them, Nori had already left to look for her brother. Finally, Nori finds her brother in an abandoned warehouse. He expresses his disappointment because he thinks that Nori betrayed him, but despite that, he still couldn't hurt her. Nori continuously begs him to surrender. She tells him that he doesn't deserve the pain that he experienced in the past, but that doesn't give him the right to hurt anyone. However, her brother doesn't listen and explains that he just murdered them to rescue Nori. Finally, the brother notices that he's already surrounded by police. He uses his dark powers to kill the police, including Jake. Nori begs her brother to stop and promises that she'll go with him. However, it's too late because he's already uncontrollable. He then uses his dark powers against Nori. Nori struggles at first, but later on, she remembers the teachings of her mother on how to control her supernatural powers. Luckily, she defeats her brother, making him turn into a tree. Nori then uses her supernatural powers to miraculously revive Jake and the police. The movie ends with Nori saying goodbye to Stella. She'll go back to her town to hone her supernatural powers and to meet the people who are just like her. Meanwhile, Stella and Jake are now back in each other's arms. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.